All right.
All right, there we go. We're live. We don't know what
Oh,
we're
we are
talking
live.
about. We are.
Wow. It seems like it's been
So,
another week. There's a lot of stuff going on, but did you have any topics or news or anything going on?
well, I was just reading about some articles talking about the kind of fallout for windsurf
Oh, yeah,
um,
drama. Speaking of things
drama.
that may get made into movies,
Yeah.
all this weekend drama. Yeah.
So there was an article in Business Insider uh, by talking about Vinod Khosla, Khosla
Hmm.
Ventures,
Hmm.
and he was an early investor, I think, in windsurf, as well
Oh,
as
Codium at the time.
Cognition,
Yeah.
as well as
Oh.
OpenAI.
Oh.
And he said, "I would never work with those two founders again."
Wow.
Uh, Basically saying he left them. He left windsurf. He they abandoned windsurf, and it was
Wow.
not a good thing to do. And it seems like a lot of there's enough articles talking about how they did that badly.
I think Theo was kind of the first person to complain publicly about it because he was also an investor.
Hmm.
So he was I won't try to put any color on it, but I think he was complaining, I guess, that they got a payout and weren't necessarily sharing the wealth,
Right.
which is one angle.
Yeah.
But the other is that I think you're touching on is like you're leaving your team high and dry.
Yeah.
And it's like why would I ever work with you again? Because
Right.
you're gonna leave your team high and dry again. It's just like anyway, I
And
understand
the
that sentiment for sure.
Cognition acquisition,
Hmm.
no terms have been shared, but it seems like some people have suggested it was about 300 million in stock, which
Oh,
is
that's not a
quite a
lot,
big difference from 3 billion or whatever it was with
right?
OpenAI. And
Yeah, it's one.
but more of all the employees, all their stock option cliffs, and they were all accelerated, so everybody gets something out of it.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough space and it's a tough market right now where
Yeah.
this kind of thing is important now, but it might
Yeah.
not be in a month or 3 months or
Yeah.
6 months.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's um, things
So
are
timing,
definitely
I guess,
changing.
is pretty important. Yeah, things are changing
Yeah.
very rapidly. Yeah.
Yeah. I started playing around with Klein.
Oh, here we go. And open
Um,
code or what's
I
the
don't
other one?
know. I don't
Codex?
know.
Have you tried anything else to compare it to? Like
No.
Aider, I guess, another one.
No.
Okay. Cloud
But
Code.
Klein inside actually I was using Klein inside a Windsurf, but it could be inside of VS
You
Code.
could you
Yeah,
could do it anywhere. Yeah.
whatever. Um, but playing around with Olama's new hosted, so they're going into the
Oh.
hosted space.
Oh, that's cool. Now,
And
are they exposing what do we call it? Like an open AI compliant endpoint? So you talk to it using the same libraries as you would others? I would assume so.
who?
Olama for the hosted
Oh,
service. I
so
would assume it's
Olama already today, if you use Olama on your machine, it
it's
exposes a OpenAI compatible API,
right.
and it
Right. That's
does
what I was wondering.
almost everything. It's almost complete between the two.
Right.
There's obviously less that the OpenAI API can do than what Olama needs to be able to do, like around stuff that's obviously
Hmm.
local.
Hmm.
Um, and but they started sharing with basically the Discord last week. Here's how to turn on this hosted service. And so you can get Kimi, is it Kimi K2 or something
Give me
like that?
K2.
As well as the DeepSeek. Um, so Kimi K2 is a 1 trillion parameter model.
I thought there was a couple of them, but yeah, it's a lot.
So the big one is 1 trillion parameters, and what's being served out on this hosted platform is not quantized, and we're using the full context that Kimi supports. and it's very fast,
Wow.
very
Really?
very fast. Yeah, far faster
Hmm.
than you're going to be able to uh,
Hey now.
use. Far
That
faster than going to be able to run on your own machine, unless you're going with
now
that way smaller version.
right, right. Now, have you looked at the Open Router? I don't want to call it a marketplace, but it sort of feels like a marketplace because there are providers hosting models for you to use, and some of them are larger, some of them are smaller. It feels like these old Bitcoin data centers have
Yeah,
smelled some
yeah,
money, and
yeah.
they're now getting involved. Um, what I guess what I like about that is that it forces a market, which means that the people who are cheaper and faster
Yep.
would presumably get more clients, more credits. I wonder if they're going to hook into the Olama hosted platform and see if how that
Mm,
shakes out, because that's pretty interesting to me. It's like who can serve a model that suits your needs. I guess
right,
is the main thing.
right,
So when you're talking about quantization, like maybe it's important to not have anything quantized, and I get
right.
more out of this model as a result. In my experience, is it Q4? I feel like is I don't really notice a difference unless it gets like
Mm,
pretty yeah, heavily quantized. I noticed, but
right.
generally before that, it's not that obvious.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
So
I
yeah,
like
it's
that.
pretty cool. It's really cool. Yeah.
And
I was
have you
I was
come
playing
across
around
any?
with it last week
Go ahead.
and as well as this week, and it's going to be. I'm sure they're still figuring out what the price and the credits and it seems to be doing credits, but it's not really clear what credits mean in terms of tokens or, uh, but
Right.
um, but it's um, DeepSeek, the big model, the 600 whatever billion parameters,
R1. Yeah.
Kimi with 1 trillion, and then Quen 3 235 as well as like 30 something, um,
Wow.
and they are all blazing fast.
Wow.
So
That's really
it's really
impressive.
cool.
Have you come across any other marketplace or hosters like the multi-model hoster? I guess is what I'm kind of interested in at this point in time. So
Hmm.
OpenRouter be one. Olama
Hmm.
sounds like another.
Yep.
Uh, I'm looking for those other marketplaces because it feels like
Oh,
that's where we
where
are
you can
now.
use multiple different models, but one
Hmm.
interface.
Yeah, whereas T3, like Theo's thing, would be a front end, and
Right.
maybe he's bringing in other providers. I'm more interested in that API than I am. I'm
Hmm.
definitely interested in the front end. Don't get me wrong, but that API,
I
I
mean,
guess what I'm saying is I've discovered OpenRouter and I really like it, and I'm
right.
assuming that there must be competitors.
I mean, there's I mean, it's not an API, but Raycast,
Oh, fair enough. Yep, as a
and
front
so I
end. Yep.
pay whatever I pay, $20, and I get access to all the OpenAI models and all the Claude models and all the all these others. But
Hmm.
then all these plugins for Raycast will also be able to use those things,
Right.
and so that's pretty cool.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, I think.
you have to initiate. You're the initiator inside a
Right.
Raycast. It can't be some other service that's initiating that conversation with the model.
Unless you've got some clever Rube Goldberg, Matt Williams esque
Yeah, I
script
don't
system.
know. Yeah, maybe they've been pretty restrictive on what can initiate. I
Okay.
think, and it's probably because they're able to get. They may have some deal that says, okay, you have access to these things, but you
Yeah.
cannot allow people to use the API to access. It has to be a human initiated
Right.
conversation.
Like the IDEs are obviously like one of the things that comes to mind in terms of a marketplace
Right.
where let's say you've paid Windsurf for a year, you've got access to Suite
Right.
One and then a few other models at a normal
Yeah.
cost. The ones that distance themselves from it are interesting to me as well, like the Notions or the Canvas
Hmm.
or the what have you, where what's going on behind the scenes is opaque to you. And actually, I
Right.
kind of don't like that. I want to know what's happening with my context. Is it being
Yeah.
compacted? Is it compressed? What have you done?
Yeah.
Claude Code is one of those things where I think you were talking about their in Raycast are trying to make it so that people can't call it for usage that they don't expect. I'm
Hmm.
starting to see workflows where Claude Code is just sort of shoehorned into the workflow as a quote unquote agent,
Right.
whereas it's actually Claude Code, and then the output is applied to whatever they sent it, and then they'll look at it.
Right.
Because you can give Claude Code, I think it's a command line argument where you can ask it to just do like a one shot, basically, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it defaults to Sonnet 4. Uh, but I guess why I'm asking is because in Aider, you have the choice from multiple models that you set up. You set up like a strong model and a weak model, what
Mm-hmm.
have you. In Cline, though, the biggest issue, biggest difference for me at least between that Claude Code and Aider is that in Cline there's a difference between, I guess, it's got three things, but there's Olama, there's OpenRouter, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's Cline credits, and you're hitting the nail on the head. This is exactly what I want to talk about. Is like that the difference between credits and tokens and
Right.
model providers, and then like, hey, like this is amazing, but also how would I just run that locally? Like, why
Yeah.
would I need
Yeah.
to do all of this stuff? Why couldn't I just use it that way?
Yeah. Oh, that was how I was starting to go down the route, but just as a to find close something up. I mentioned I was playing around with Klein. The reason
Yeah,
was because Olama had the hosted thing,
right.
and I saw how easy it was to update Klein to make it
Oh,
support this hosted
gotcha.
version. And so in Klein, it's using Kimi K2 at really fast, K1, K2, I don't know, whatever.
It's K2.
Um, uh, and uh, and so it's kind of magical. It's pretty
That's
magical.
that's really cool. Sorry, I think my internet kind of blipped there. Hopefully, you caught most of what
Okay,
I was
yeah,
saying.
yeah,
Yeah, but I'm interested in that tiering that we're having now.
yeah.
It feels like there's many clients with different approaches. The quote unquote credits approach is pretty interesting for sure. Especially if you've got like, so you're mentioning K2. I've not played with that. I've tried to play with Maverick multiple times. Apparently,
Hmm.
I don't need to waste my time with it, but it's massive. It's not something I can host myself. Like
Yeah.
it's one of those difficult to host models. The other is Klein is similar to Aider, has that concept of like a light model and a strong model, and being able to use certain
Mm-hmm.
things for certain jobs. And I'm becoming increasingly. I mean, I talked about this before, but Fee 3, I was actually pretty hype
Oh, right.
on,
Yeah.
or Phi, and Fee 4 is amazing. This is Google's. I don't want to say
Microsoft, isn't it?
SLM, but it. Oh shoot,
Oh,
my apologies. I
yeah.
misspoke. I definitely meant to say Microsoft, but said Google. I apologize. But it's like an SLM. Have you heard of this? Like small language model as opposed to
I
a
think that's
large
such a
language model.
stupid name.
It kind of is, and I apologize for
They're
even
all
uttering
large.
it.
I mean, there's smaller large language models, but they're
Right.
all
They-
LLMs.
yeah, they all appear to be large. But in terms of parameters, it's, I want to say 4 to 6 billion in terms
Mm.
of like the usable one. Quite tiny compared to what
Hmm.
you'd be used to, and can run on CPUs, let alone GPUs, and aging GPUs as well will work, which is pretty interesting.
Hmm.
Although the CPS, like the memory speed, is unfortunately important, not as good. But all this to say, there are some cases where there are things that you can do locally prior to sending off to the model and getting
Hmm.
back results where you can optimize those credits. And
Yep.
and I don't want to say, like, listen, I don't want to say they're doing anything devious, but if I were running that company, I would absolutely be figuring out what I could use locally on like 1 gigabyte of GPU memory
Yeah.
before sending it off to my service in order to get a better result back to the client.
Right.
And I would absolutely charge the client for it, even though it's their hardware that I'm utilizing for this tiering bullshit.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're getting into that optimization. So I won't say enshittification, but it
You're right.
feels like we're on the precipice of
Yeah.
enshittification. And one of those things that bothers me, and I was talking to somebody this morning about it, is how people are starting to optimize around Claude Code. So Claude Code has timeouts. I
Hmm.
think you've probably noticed in Windsurf now that it what I said is come to fruition, that you're working and it's like, come back later for more credits on
Right.
this. Like you've
Right.
exhausted it. Well, I will say in windsurf, it takes a lot longer to get to that point. Like it could
Yep.
be, I don't know, 6 hours, seven
Yep.
hours, as opposed to Cloud Code, which could be two, basically.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, I want to take the Nintendo viewpoint. That is like, you've gamed enough. It's time to go outside and touch grass. You're addicted to whatever civilization game
Right.
that you're playing. One more turn, one more line of code, just one more feature. I've almost got this complete. Uh, so what I do is, the reason I'm here, I've been walking to the studio and Claude kicks me out. That's like legit why I'm here. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, I might as well get some exercise. I could be at the studio as well. I might as well clean or what have you. But I'm using this as an excuse to be healthy. But I do feel like at some point in time, I'm just going to buy two Claude subscriptions. Like I'll buy two $20 a month subscriptions,
Hmm.
and maybe I'll buy three. Maybe I'll buy four, like,
Hmm.
you know what I mean. I'm just get at that point because I could buy up to 10 of them and pay the same amount for unlimited, but I feel like I could get quite a bit out of those 10 accounts. And this is
Oh,
awful and duplicitous and terrible.
right,
But again, if the company's going to treat me that way,
right.
then it behooves me of finding a way to use
Yeah,
my money and get my
yeah.
return on investment. I'm not doing this. So full disclosure.
Mhm.
But that's what we were talking about this morning. Is that there are people out there gaming that system. So like
Sure.
if Sonnet 4 is a model I want to get at, and I've got a Cursor subscription, a Windsurf subscription, and a Claude Code subscription, why not run one after another in sequence
Right.
and go through it? And that's honestly kind of where I'm at
Yeah.
right now. I'm not saying it's good. I'll have a lot to
Yeah.
say about that in a second. But it does feel like people gaming that system are going to become more and more common. On top of which, the ones where you sign up and you get like a certain amount of credit for free, it feels like the Bitcoiny kind of, running Bitcoin miners and GitHub runners, for example, or GitHub
Hmm.
Actions. We're going to get to that stage where people are en masse signing up for trials in order to get the one or two shot things and then
Right.
coming back. And
Right.
I guess I don't know where all this compute lands. So is it easier for me to set up a trial for Claude Code or Claude, sorry, and get Claude Code, get my one or two shot and go away? Is it
Right.
easier for me to use Phi or Phi? So I shove this in LightLM. It sounds like LangChain isn't that popular, but it feels like that's sifting through what I can get for free versus what I have to pay for is where we're at now. And I'm trying not to mention levels.fyi, but like the only example I've got in my mind is like building something on Google Sheets and then making this a big website. It,
Hmm.
it feels like that sort of approach. Like if I can
Yeah.
get this for free and they say it's within the TOS, then it makes sense for me to get
Right.
10 accounts instead of one with Claude. And if I have to sign up my family, if it has to be real people, I'll do that. I'll employ them
Right.
all and say that they're my virtual coders. But that's where people are now. And I understand the cutoffs on the other hand too, because we're dealing with massive context
Right.
windows. We're dealing with a fair amount of compute and a fair amount of expense. Whereas what they're trying to do is build a market. So trying to like get what do we call it, like the flywheel of revenue going. But on the other hand, I'm trying to get work done, and it's like fun to code this way. So I don't know.
Hmm.
There's the fun programming group that's relatively intelligent, and then there's the companies trying to extract money from them, and it feels like they're at loggerheads right now, and
Yeah.
it's kind of fun to watch. But yeah, I'm bouncing between tools as a result, just trying to figure out how I can get that next little thing landed.
I I don't know. I mean, I always think that avoidance of being a pain in the ass is worth paying a little extra for. Yeah.
So so
So I
you're
mean, I
the
would.
so there's two motivators, right? There's pursuance of pleasure and avoidance of fear. So you're like avoidance of pain, I guess is your approach.
Yeah. I mean, having to change out different accounts just so I can kind of game the system and get, a little bit better, but at the cost of being something that is hard to remember to do. I don't see the payout. I don't see how it's worth it. I mean, it's great if you don't put any value on your time and I mean, yeah, I
So
don't ever get that. Yeah.
what seems to be happening now is people are setting up workflows, and I'm going to
Hmm.
mention another kind of verboten name just for a quick second here. You may have heard of Astronomer lately, or
Oh yeah.
perhaps perhaps Apache Airflow,
Yeah.
or the systems like you and I had talked about N8N, for
Yeah.
example, Temporal as well. But these, I think Celery or Cucumber, one of these is a queue. But
Is that
these
what
queuing
Astronomer
systems,
is?
yeah, it's Airflow. Yeah, Airflow as a service. Yeah.
Hmm.
I know
I,
that's the worst part is
I no
no
one
one got
knows what
Apache
this.
Airflow out of
Yeah.
all of this.
Yeah.
But that's just it, is that people will gang together these virtual
Right.
workers that are different accounts, and they'll have the credentials stored. Chances are there's a lot of dirty N8N repos
Mm.
out there that we
Hmm.
could probably have a heyday with. But it seems like that's what they're getting towards. And Christian, sorry to like rope in your topic a little bit here, but like when it comes to something like RAG, or when it comes to something like a local system like OpenWebUI or Misty, to close out the talk on the providers, a lot of those in terms of their, it's not like syntactic sugar or anything like that, but it kind of feels like that. If you're coding with words, a lot of what they'll do is give you that easy button plus sign to add documents to it. I will say personally, having played a little bit with Misty, I didn't have the problem you're having, but perhaps I didn't have as many documents as you did. I don't know how long short stories are, but 200 short stories sounds like a fair amount of context. So I don't know if
And
you're
if you're,
Go ahead.
I mean, Misty has RAG kind of built in. I think OpenWebUI also does.
That I don't know. Misty, I've definitely
Yeah,
played both.
and with each of them, you have. I don't know if you have much configuration options with Misty, but
Mm,
I think you do with OpenWebUI. Um, but even then, I don't know if it's enough configuration, enough tweaking available. And with RAG system, there's so much that you can configure depending on the kind of content that you're adding
mhm.
to the database. Like how do you want to chunk up the data into smaller
Right.
pieces? And then once you figure that out, and how much overlap you have between the two, and I think the default from like LangChain is splitting it up by characters is usually what it is, or it might do words as well, or sentences. But sometimes you also might want to split it up by concepts or by other types of things, or detail, and then a larger view of a summary, and then a summary of that, and then um, you're so you're doing that. Oh, and then there's the different types of embedding models that you use. Um, and so that's another variable. And I think there's some more in there involved in there
There's
too.
there's things
There's
like
so many
non-printing
variables.
spaces and yeah,
And
all that
so it's
stuff.
a technique that's worked for a lot of people. And I think if it's not working, it probably indicates that there's some more of those variables that you need to tweak.
Yeah, I would agree. Just some quick napkin math. I mean, let's assume 300 words for a short story. 2 by 6 is, you know, how many thousands
Right.
of words are we in? Those aren't tokens. And if they're short stories, do the spaces matter?
Yeah.
Maybe. This could be a fair amount of tokens, so it's a fairly large context window. Would you say at that size, and this is where I struggle with now, like, is it worth fine tuning at that size? Because it feels like it's on the cusp of something where you might actually think about it. Because I wouldn't want to send this context every time, because that's what you're
Yeah.
going to do with RAG, right?
Right.
Like, or do like a lookup in a database. I have to keep off to the side.
Yep.
Like, I got to make that choice. Am I
Yep.
making a new model? Do I know that this is it in terms of my? I don't want to say grounding, but like in terms of the documents that I need to weigh, is this the sum total, or am I going to be adding more later? I guess would be the question for me. And if you're not going to be adding more later, then why have to do this search every time? Because it's going to
Right.
slow everything down.
I guess I'm curious about what are you trying to do with these short stories?
Make new ones.
What's the goal? Is it to find find the story that talks about something? In which
Mm.
case, maybe Olama is not, or any sort of AI model is not really
Get like an
relevant.
actual search engine. Yeah,
Is
I'm
it
getting
just a
to that
search
point now
engine?
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. And like like as an MCP with a search engine better than a RAG system.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm not saying I agree with either or. It's just kind
Yeah.
of interesting to me to see. The other Christian, and I hate to assume, but just based on your name, I wonder if they're in a different language as well.
Sure.
And sometime that can matter. Matt mentioned embeddings. I've only used, is it Ada-002, the
Mm-hmm.
one
Right.
from OpenAI?
OpenAI. Yep.
Yeah, that's the only one I've used. In fact, and I realized that there are a bunch out there. I
Yeah.
think one of the companies is Canadian, Cohere. I found out
Mm-hmm.
recently.
Yep.
I was like, what? I had no idea Cohere is
Which was
Canadian.
the found I seem to remember that was founded by one of the other people in the Transformer paper.
Oh, that's cool.
Um,
Attention is everything.
yeah, like one of the like lower down names. Um,
Very cool. Yeah, so hallucination in the reply is another thing. So in Misty, at least there's a temperature setting. I would recommend playing around with that. Is another thing if you want to make
mhm.
sure that it's only dealing with the RAG documents. That can be helpful. I got to say, and this is a super unpopular opinion, but the best RAG system I've used is NVIDIA's RAG Accelerator that they have
Hmm.
on Windows of all platforms.
Hmm.
But you just take a pile of PDFs, throw it into
Yeah.
it, and it's like, hey, it's surprisingly okay.
Hmm.
And I was dealing with like a 3090, 4090, so
Yeah. Yeah.
not cheap. Don't get me wrong, but definitely not the fastest in
Right.
terms of a
Right.
GPU. but it was totally fine. And I was actually pretty impressed. So I'm not sure if you're on Windows, Christian, but to compare or contrast, whatever they're doing for the secret sauce there, which is open source, you can play around with it, but it does
Right.
seem to, I would say it seems to do the embeddings pretty well
Yeah.
without necessarily using a database, which is nice. It's kind of nice. Yeah, so I feel like we were talking about workflows a little bit there, and that's where I want to talk to you next. Is that I feel like I am now an orchestrator, and that's a bad place to be in. So if I'm
Is it?
managing a team, yeah, I don't want to manage people. I'm an
Oh, okay.
IC. When I see, I want them to come to me with like
Right.
working solutions, not things for me to review, or curation, curatorial. It feels like
Right.
I'm looking at a lot of Git diffs, whereas what I'm trying to get to is test-driven development, and I'm struggling pretty hard. And it's been about a year, so I've been trying to get a lot of these models to work around like, and maybe the problem is that I'm having them define the test and then action the test in order to
Mm-hmm.
make it pass. I mean, skipping tests is the first problem you're going to have. Two, modifying the test is the next problem you're going to have. And three, saying that you've completed the thing and the test is passed when, like, it obviously haven't. Those three things happen to me all day, every day. And I don't have a solution around it. But I'm wondering what your approach is. Are you still PRD? Are you Specs? Have you tried
What are
Amazon's,
we
is it
talking about?
Kiro? Sorry, we're talking about workflows. So
So
instead of
workflow
having
and how so?
the human workflow. So let's say you come
Uh-huh.
up with this Matt's amazing $10 million app idea. We're gonna have it's a bridge plan for Bainbridge Island that's gonna be solar powered, and we'll do your taxes as you drive across it. You heard it here first, patent pending. So you've come up with this great idea. You've got your features in your brain.
Right.
You have yet to delve into the computer at this
Right.
point in time. Are you, because Ader has that approach, and Klein sort of does too,
Mm.
where it's like
Mm-hmm.
plan, architect, react,
Right.
or plan, architect, design, or code, something like
Right.
that. But there's three modes essentially, or
Right.
two modes, I guess, depending on the tool that you're using. AWS released, I think it's Cairo, maybe it's Kiro, but their
Mm-hmm.
editor
Mm-hmm.
basically forces you to follow this
Yeah.
workflow. Um, I have been trying to do a lot of, I guess, a lot of test-driven development. I'm trying to
Right.
put a nice spin on it, but like that's really what I'm trying to do is like
Right.
define a test and then satisfy the test. And I'm
Yep.
wondering if prior to that I was using PRDs. I still do from time to time again, or a to-do list, or Claude.md, or maybe I think Ader's got like Ader.prompt or something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of them will have different instructions in terms of way of attacking them. And I'm wondering what your approach is to something meaty before you get started, because a lot of people are building apps all the time, and I feel like there's got
Right.
to be
Right.
some sort of standardized approach to app building with a vibe coding, or just Gen AI
I,
platform.
my approach has not changed at all
No way.
since the first Windsurf first came out, and Cursor. I mean, create that PRD document that says
Mm-hmm.
here's the things that you want to happen, and here's how you want to, as you go through the app, here's what you want it to do, and describe all the things, and then feed that to the service and let's start building it out. But I definitely have not gotten to the approach of, okay, let's split it out into all the tasks and do the planning of here's how you'll actually do it. I've definitely read about it and seen lots of videos about that, but I haven't. I don't know if I've since I haven't done any big enough projects where that's been needed.
Gotcha. Yeah, it feels like to me any project I spend more than 5 minutes on becomes massive very quickly. It's like all of these
Right.
models want enterprisey solutions,
Right.
and by the time it gets to that point, I end up having to test all of the assumptions, because
Right.
it's a Cambrian explosion of
Right.
features, most of which don't work. And I'm in here thinking this is a great feature. Could I write it myself, or should I write a test where the Gen AI model can
Right.
take over? Christian did say in the thing here that it
Yep.
is Italian language, so that's
So first, I don't know what embedding models support Italian,
right.
because that's the big thing. Is you're looking. It's not just about embedding the text or converting the text to vectors. It is understanding the meaning of what's in that text, and so it's all about the meaning. And so, do the models understand Italian versus other languages? I don't know. I would assume so, but I don't know. And then if you want to query the RAG system to know if it can answer simple questions about the story. So I assume you know the story that you want to ask
Hmm.
about. And so you would filter down the query first, like only show me this story or these stories by this particular author. The only Italian short story author I know of was Italo Calvino. But anyway,
That's pretty
my
good.
wife has a whole bunch of Italo Calvino books because of her. I don't know why she has them. Anyway, uh,
Just for
uh,
funsies.
yeah, yeah. Um, and so you filter down that list and then do the query based. So in your RAG system, you would have, most of these RAG databases have the idea of a metadata field associated with each record. And that metadata might be author Calvino, title and the title of the story, and be able to filter down, or maybe even keywords or subject matter, and be able to filter down. Um,
I love how
um,
he knows exactly what you're talking about. That's
yeah.
perfect.
um, and filter that down, and then do the context search, and then
Yeah,
feed that to the model.
agreed. And the other is like when you're generating. So once you've got the RAG embeddings and everything set up,
Hmm.
I sent a link. I'm not sure if that works on YouTube. I apologize, Christian, but there is a leaderboard for model embeddings, which is
Mm.
probably worth looking at, and it does include multilingual. So that's probably what you're looking for. In terms of helping you, I have had some good luck with Cohere for multilingual stuff, but that's not for embeddings. It's just for translation and things like that. But that's probably your best look, is one to look at an embedding model that supports multiple language, as well as the model that you're using when generating supports Italian. But yeah, I think that kind of makes sense to me. Is that like, yeah, it was
Right.
just hallucinating gibberish because it wasn't sure what language
Yeah.
it was in. So it thought it was a new dialect of English.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Not to personify our model, but if I were in that situation, I'd be like, I mean,
Yeah.
this is obviously English. That's all I know about. They sent me new English. Fantastic. Let's roll with the punches. So we talked about Kimi K2, and I
Hmm.
don't think there's a lot of people talking about this being the next DeepSeek. I'm not sure that's the case, but it seems to be quite affordable. And as you mentioned, it seems to be quite fast, which is pretty
Hmm.
interesting. So it feels like it's going to be another inflection point, is
Right.
basically what's happening. We're hosting large, cheap models that I think Kimi K2 is one of those ones that split up. Like, not
Hmm.
everything's in memory at the same time either, which is pretty nice. So it's a little bit more efficient, which is handy. So the combination of all these three makes it so that you could get into like a new era of models that are hosted. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
He's astonished, Calvino. Let me, for the record,
I
before Matt
I
gets too
don't
proud of this,
I
Matt
don't
does not know. Matt's
I don't know.
partner knows
My
Calvino.
my wife. So actually, I mean, so during her, I'm not sure if it was her undergrad doing engineering at Penn, or her getting her master's in architecture at Michigan.
Both related to
During
Italian literature.
one of those, she did a semester. She did a semester away, one year in Ghana, and the other
Nice.
year she did in Italy, in I think she went to Florence for that.
Nice.
Um, and uh, and she speaks and Italian. She speaks Italian anyway. She is of Italian descent,
Italian heritage, yeah.
and
Cool.
yeah, so that's why she probably took some class with Calvino and had to read it in Italian.
Now, listen, longtime listeners will know that Matt also has astonishing Russian skills. So, do you all
Oh
have
no,
do you have like a third language that's common between you two, or a second language? I guess in this case.
English, just English.
Well,
That
that's
is
the
the one
first language.
language. That is the one language we have in common. There is no.
Well, it's like Italian's very romantic, and Russian is Russian.
Yeah.
that
Uh,
I think it is important to know though, and this is one of those things that at least I've certainly ranted about on this podcast, and I think Matt has as well, is that a lot of these models focus on English, and it's
yeah.
not that the state of the art has caught up in other language. It's
Yeah.
very much the case that these models are English only, and
Yeah.
may do other languages because it's like slurped up a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff at the same time, but it's primarily English only. And when we're talking about things like programming, that's one problem set. We talked about
Hmm.
math, which is yet another problem set. But languages are close enough that I think they are similar in terms of the way that you might
Yeah.
compose like a reply, but they are not the same. And
Right.
they may actually require different logic as a result.
Yeah. And I would imagine it's probably even more difficult when the language isn't using the letters that we
Character set?
use, the character set,
Yes.
and so
Yes.
Russian and their Cyrillic, or um, Japanese or
Turkish.
Chinese,
Yeah,
or
Turkish, Japanese, Chinese. Yeah.
or even locally here, the Suquamish tribes and the other
Squamish, yeah.
tribes all around. Um,
Snoqualmie, yeah.
yeah, this area around Puget Sound. Um, actually, my at the beginning of, when was it? It was a few months ago. The local art museum had this kind of reading event for kids and their parents. Come in, you go to this thing in the evening. They provided dinner, and then they did this kind of reading a book, and some of them were, the at the each week they would give you two books to read at home, and then the next week they read those stories on stage. And the first book was actually a couple stories from traditional Suquamish stories, but they were written both in English as well as the Suquamish language. And so it's a very different, it's kind of the same letters, but then
There's numbers.
there's smaller versions, these
There's
these
legit numbers. I remember because the
yeah,
seven
yeah.
is
And
in Squamish, and
in
apparently
in
it's like a pause. But yeah,
yeah.
it's
And what
legit
was
numbers.
and so it was amazing seeing the language written out, saying the same, what was being told in English and what was being the Suquamish version of it, but also the two people who were narrating it, they were able to speak it, and so they were speaking that
Oh,
language and then speaking
cool.
it in English, and it was fascinating. It was the first time I'd ever, there's the local public elementary or middle school that's near us is actually um, uh, it's got a Suquamish name and Squamish
That's cool.
spelling, and if you say it correctly, it's got the sounds that are not in English. It
Right.
is, but it was the first time I'd actually heard it spoken, and it was incredible. So I don't know
That is
how I
so
got there,
cool.
but that's got to be a
Well,
hard one. That's got to be a hard one to, I mean, because a small
there's no
language,
corpus. Yeah, there's no corpus.
it's I wonder if it's the number of people, because, well, actually that language, that written
That's a
version of
spoken
that
language.
language
Yeah.
is only written in the last 40 or 50 years.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the other one that comes to mind, and this is more historical, but I think Tagalog was like that as well. It
Mm,
was an oral language, and they
right.
added the writing later,
Right.
and they used our characters to write it. But
Yep.
that's not the default,
Yeah.
obviously. The other one that might be, it's more region, but I don't think it's similar. But there's Thai as well, which is actually pretty unique in the way that
Mm,
it's written.
mm-hmm.
And I think Korean and some Japanese as well,
Mm-hmm.
where they're completely unique. Like there's no characters that
Right.
overlap. Whereas this one's interesting because it has a lot of accents that
Yeah.
you may not have seen before. And we're talking about the E's and the O's, but like, what do you do when your X has an accent on it? Like,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
the W? What does that mean? It's similar to the N or the city on a
Mm-hmm.
C, but it might be different depending on the language. But I find that interesting as well. So one, it's a young corpus, so there's not a lot of history
Right.
in it. Two, it's not large. There's not a large
Yeah.
corpus. And three, the type of communication in the corpus, so that the samples, we're talking about short stories over here, the samples that you're seeing maybe, maybe they are short stories or
Right.
songs or tales
Right.
or things like that. Perhaps they're governmental proceedings. Like
Yeah.
it might be different than you and I talking and then
Right.
just having like a transcript of this
Yeah.
conversation. So you're training it on a different level. And
Yeah.
this is, sorry, spoiler alert here. This is why I think we end up with a lot of enterprisey stuff out of these vibe coding platforms. It's because
Hmm.
they're trained on
Yeah.
massive projects that have like, I don't know, it feels like 50,000 folders that
Yeah.
do absolutely nothing. But that's where we're at, is like we're not yet at the maturity level where we can say we've got an Italian state of the art model. State
Yeah.
of the art might actually be something that feels like it's from 4 years ago.
That said, there I when there are models that are for other languages, they do
Hmm.
tend to make a little bit of news. I remember that seeing bubble up
Yeah.
to the top a couple of models that came out that were specifically around a number of African languages,
Oh, that's
like
cool. I didn't know.
Swahili and a bunch of others from that that region, and which was fascinating.
Funnily enough, uh, yeah, I actually have heard Swahili before. I was like,
Oh yeah.
let me Google this really quickly. Yeah, I just happened to grow up and babysit around some people who were
Hmm.
refugees from Africa,
Okay.
and they spoke Swahili in the family. But yeah,
Right.
there are a lot of languages in Africa, and I
Yeah.
think we brought this up
Yeah.
before. I hate to cart it out again, but India is a very big country. It's not
Hmm.
dialects that India has; it's
Yeah.
languages, which is always super impressive to me. And there may actually be written history, but it might not be digitized, which is the
Right.
problem there
Yeah.
as well. It's like you've got 50 languages and you've got a bunch of docs, but now the problem is OCR. It's like, how
Right.
do I get
Right.
these docs in and start processing them if I want to build up this model for this language? And I guess I worry a little bit about my personal pride, which is Acadian French, or you may say
Mm.
Cajun in the US, because I feel like this fork of French may not necessarily survive the great LLM.
Yeah.
Push. Unfortunately, I don't know. Maybe Cohere is working on Acadian French. Who knows? I do want to give time for checkouts, though. Was there
Mm.
anything that you picked up this week that is interesting, new, novel?
No, I haven't done any purchases or anything like. Well, no, no.
Oh,
I
he has. Of
since
course, he
well,
has.
I mean
His
since
wallet's glued to his hand.
since Prime Day, there was a flurry of things like
Prime days.
masks,
Let's
Prime
be clear.
Days,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then like the weekend, like a few days after that was over, my wife and daughter came back from their month-long trip to
Hmm.
Michigan, which meant I no longer had free reign of packages coming in at the door that would not be called. So I haven't done any more.
Not because they would they would notice.
They would
Um,
notice, yeah.
So I bought a Switch 2. I'm not sure if I had
Mm,
mentioned that on this channel.
no,
It took a while. As a Canadian, things were a little bit
yeah,
complicated here in terms of when we got access to them, but I
yeah.
got it at the normal price. Things were great. Um, I've been
How is
playing a
it?
lot of it. It is phenomenal,
Oh
actually.
yeah.
Let's just say that. So one, it's a little bit bigger. So for Matt like people with larger hands, probably fine for you. For people like you, smaller hands, I find it's a bit too big.
Mm,
And maybe I want like a Switch Lite. I also miss the OLED from the original Switch, but in terms of things like battery life, performance, that's fantastic.
mm.
My biggest gripe right now, and maybe I got to check to keep me honest, but there's no YouTube app on the Switch 2, and
There's
my
no
most
what?
played YouTube app and my most played
Oh,
quote unquote game for the Switch, because I bring it with me when I travel, is YouTube.
oh.
I found a lot of times in hotels, YouTube on the Switch somehow won't pause and buffer and do all this garbage,
Hmm,
whereas my Mac will, my phone will, a bunch of other
hmm.
things will. So I use the Switch quite a bit for YouTube,
Okay.
offline, what have you, while traveling. And it's still, there's no video apps on the Switch 2, which really kills me. The game
Mm.
I've been playing the most of, though, is called Disco Elysium. I believe I've mentioned this before. This game is from Estonia, of all places. It is phenomenal. I can't
Yeah.
make this. I can't talk more good about this game. It is really, really good. It goes into a lot of the psychology of like a down and out detective who really likes
Mm.
disco and
Uh-huh.
karaoke and bell bottom bands and things like that. But it will go into sort of the emotions of your characters and the
Hmm,
psychology and why they think the way they are. The other thing is it's quite relaxing. The
hmm,
narration is phenomenal. The music
hmm.
is phenomenal. The art
Right.
is phenomenal. I think
Hmm.
Wikipedia purports that it is the best artistic video game ever made. That's a difficult claim to make, but I feel like
Hmm,
they might
hmm,
have a good point. It is quite possibly the most artistic, and that's just in terms of
hmm.
storytelling, the artwork, the character development, the actual written prose. I think it's great. On the Switch One, on the other hand, it would crash every five
Mm-hmm.
minutes, every 6 minutes. Like a door would open while I was playing music. It's like, I can't do that. Just you would lose the game. Saving the game would take 2 minutes. And opening a new zone would take about a minute. Like it was noticeably awful. All of that is gone in the Switch 2 version, so it's playable. And I'm
Wow.
sure everybody in the comments is like, you can play this on PC for much cheaper, etc., etc. Sure, you could. This is where I like to play it, but it's
Yeah.
a quite good game that I would recommend just in terms of that view.
Okay.
But what I'm noticing is that a lot of the games that I thought were not great on Switch One are actually quite good on
Hmm.
Switch Two. That's kind of my recommendation. Is if you get a Switch One, it's a pretty hefty price tag, but if you got a big library, chances are you've got some games in there that you didn't get refunds for
Right.
that are stinkers. You
Yeah.
might be able to eke some value out of those. This game is not a stinker; it's phenomenal. But on the
Hmm.
Switch One, it was terrible. The other games that I thought were pretty good in terms of like just upgrades were like Super Mario Odyssey, for example, is
Hmm.
phenomenal to play now. It's,
Really?
it's actually really, yeah, really smooth, really fun. A lot of games got like silent upgrades here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I've played a lot of Mario Kart World Tour. It feels
Right.
like Tony Hawk plus Mario Kart. It's quite
See,
fun.
I've never understood the attraction to any of the games that involve Mario or any of those
Oh.
traditional Nintendo characters. I just don't. They look awful. I have no.
I see what you're getting at because I've gone through that period as well, and I will say I don't like brash colors, RGB
Yeah.
in particular, not for me. Matt, you and I may not actually be the target market for 90% of
Yeah.
Nintendo
Yeah.
games,
Yeah.
which took me a while to come to
Yeah.
that realization. Like the Nintendo of 6-year-old me
Yeah.
is still the same. I am
Yeah.
not the same person. I have
Yeah. See,
changed.
I never had Nintendo. My first uh, interaction with Nintendo was actually when I got to Microsoft and the
Hmm.
Nintendo headquarters, I think US headquarters was
I
like
was like across the
around the
street.
corner from
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
Microsoft campus. Um, and that was like, oh, Nintendo. I think I've heard of that. But, I know because I had, I mean, all the video games that I grew up with were always either on the Commodore 64 or
Mhm.
Atari 2600, 5200, and 9600. Um,
So Paperboy for you was like like the ultimate.
Pitfall.
Oh, Pitfall? Really for Atari? Okay, fair,
Yeah.
fair.
Um,
I'm so bad at that game. I think
yeah.
everybody is because the
Yeah.
controls are kind of
Yeah.
wonky.
Yeah.
But
Um,
I would recommend it. I feel
yeah.
like
Okay.
it's not a computer.
So
It's
I
not an Android
had
device.
the Switch Lite
Okay,
because
it's tiny.
during COVID that was the one you could get.
Oh,
Um, and which it's a really small it's a small device, and so I needed
yes,
to get like an extra piece that kind of gave it some some otherwise
some
it was
grip.
really painful to use.
Yeah.
Um, but uh, but yeah, the idea of having I mean, so my only experience is that device where the handles were attached. There was no detaching handles,
Right.
so that would be interesting. I mean, I guess that's the way for most people that have used a Switch, but still, it's yeah.
I will say that the killer app for me for the first Switch was that, oh, shoot, I think it's Wii Fit Adventure. I was trying to think of the
Hmm.
right name, or Switch Adventure, something like that. It's
Okay.
like it's this thing that's got a hoop that you can put your controller in. You have to do these kind of exercises with it, or
No.
move up and down, do
Uh huh.
squats, and I thought it was amazing.
Hmm.
Massive problem with the Switch 2 is nothing to do with any of that. It's that the controllers are physically different, so they don't fit into the one side to like
Oh, okay.
latch properly, which is unfortunate because it's
Hmm.
actually really cool. I like those, and I mentioned sort of the Nintendoification because I knew I was going to mention this later, but like,
Right.
I feel like Nintendo wants you to be more active, or at least that's
Yeah.
kind of like Google used to be. Don't be evil was Google's thing.
Right.
Maybe
Right.
these days they're just more comfortable with it, but like getting kids out and active, I feel is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And one of those games I think you might like, maybe because you've got a family, is Mario Party. Have you played with that
No.
before? So I feel like Mario Party might actually be something you could all enjoy because, like, if you're playing Monopoly, sorry, I can't even pronounce words. If you're playing Monopoly, like, you don't care about the colors of the
Yeah.
board or anything, do you? Probably not.
No.
I don't know. maybe it's just like, no, the green money just those
The,
those houses.
the one that I remember being really popular at Datadog amongst all the mostly the French developers.
Oh, Smash.
Yeah, Smash Brothers, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah, Smash
yeah,
Brothers. Yeah.
yeah. So, like on that note, I've been trying to get all the lifestyle games that I play. One of which is Street Fighter Six. I think
Mm-hmm.
I've mentioned before that I'm a fiend. My YouTube probably only has live
Mm-hmm.
stream of a Street Fighter Six at this point in time. Street Fighter Six works perfectly on the Switch
mm,
too, which I wanted to hate and I wanted to return it. I was just
right.
like, get prepared, like angry gamer. This is terrible. I'm returning it. It was totally fine.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk also is perfectly fine. I've been playing a lot of both of these games. I think I mentioned
Huh.
Balatro
Okay.
before,
Yeah.
but I've got some games that I play on a regular basis.
Right.
No Death Stranding yet, though that has
Right.
landed on Mac. I'm
Right.
not sure if you saw that.
Yep.
And Civilization did, in fact, land on the Switch. I haven't purchased it yet
Okay.
because it's like 90 Canadian dollars. I think that's
Right.
70 US dollars, but
Yeah.
quite expensive.
Yeah.
Um,
I've seen a number of articles talking about how crazy it is that so many of these games have gotten so expensive, like
yeah,
$100 games.
$130 with all the extras. That's
Yeah,
a lot.
that is a lot of money.
Plus your Switch 2 upgrades or whatever you've got. But basically, there's a lot of games on there that I think are worthwhile. I could give you a list. The,
Yeah.
the one I picked up recently that you may like, because I think you can play it on iOS, is called Dredge. But it's basically
Hmm.
it's literally a fishing game. I can't make
Oh,
this
really?
up, but it's
Okay.
something about the graphics. It's like cell shaded, so it kind of looks like animation.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it's got some vector graphics for the character faces.
Okay.
I thought it was quite nice. All you're doing is fishing and returning and just trying to pay off your loan because you crashed your boat. It is so fun. You can pick it up 2 minutes. 2 minutes. I don't know what you're doing in 2 minutes on
Yeah.
the toilet. You get 2 minutes on the toilet. You
Okay.
can catch a few fishes, put it away, and like move on with
Okay.
the rest of your day and come back to it. It'll be there for you. It's really relaxing, really easy. Dredge starts with D. Yeah, it might be
Okay.
$3 on the iOS store, but that's
I
what I've been
will.
playing recently.
I will have to look out for that. Hey, has my
Now,
audio been really low for the entire thing?
it hasn't, but it's way more tinny than usual, and I thought it
Is
was my
it?
headphones. Yeah, it's like you don't have any bass.
This
Sorry,
would be. These
we
are
shouldn't
good
get
things to
into
talk
live
about
troubleshooting though. I didn't want to say
before.
anything. Well, we didn't
Be-
really have a green room, so yeah, and the audience didn't complain, so I figured everything was
Yeah.
fine. You just
Is
feel a
it
bit
different?
tinny.
Is this different?
Way worse. Yeah.
Worse
Now
right
it's
now?
better. Yeah.
Now it's a lot better. It's not as
Yeah.
tinny.
Yeah.
Oops, wrong
Oh
button.
well.
Oh well.
And those in the chat, let me know, but I can definitely hear Matt a lot better. I
Yeah.
feel like I might be tinny. I'm on the. I mean, you've probably figured it out, but these little iPhone headphones, which aren't the best,
Yeah.
but they work. So about the Amazon Prime sale, so I bought one thing that has yet to arrive, but
Oh.
I'm all about the small rig parts. The small rig
Uh-huh.
batteries were sold out, and I finally got like a Sony battery that you can
Ah.
recharge over USB-C. Did you
Right.
pick up any cool things during Prime?
I mean, just the NAS I mentioned before.
Just the NAS, yeah.
Just the
And
NAS.
you tested the NAS, right?
It's been on, and I've been copying stuff to it. And
All right.
once I finally got the, I had the 10 gigabit network connection, but I was trying to connect it over. I was actually addressing it as the Tailscale network, and apparently that limits to 1 gigabit per second.
Oh,
And as soon as I switched, to using the actual IP address, then I was getting pretty much a full 10 gigabit per second copying.
that's
So
amazing.
that was fantastic. Based on your suggestion of not using RAID 5, instead using RAID 10, I swapped it out to RAID 10. And
You lose more storage. I'm so
I
sorry.
lose
but
more
you gain a
storage,
lot
but
of- you gain performance.
it's now I'm at 16 terabytes instead of 20 whatever, which is fine. And I think what I've had up until now has been more like 4, and I haven't needed more. I have more. I have 4 times that now, but the challenge now is coming up with a backup. So I've got the NAS and it's on RAID, but I want to have a backup just in case, and have something where it's offsite. And I'm not really sure what I want to do there.
Didn't we talk about
I
Spider Oak at one point? Is that the
which
one?
one?
Was it Spider Oak? Something Oak.
Spider Oak.
Spider Monkey?
Bug.
It's Spider Oak. Yeah, I think someone in our chat recommended Spider Oak. It
What's
might have been
Spider
2
Oak?
years ago. It's one of those. It's similar to Sync Thing. I think is
Okay.
another. It's one
So
of those
same
like sync your
thing.
data to other places.
Yeah. Okay. Spider Oak. I will
Yeah.
Zero trust security at the edge for robotics. Different Spider Oak.
Probably, but I think it is some. I want to say Tailscale Syncers. You'll be able to figure it out. But
Cloud
Backblaze
storage
is what
service. Okay.
yeah. Backblaze
Huh.
is what I'd recommend, and I think you used to use Backblaze, right?
I do use Backblaze personal
Okay.
on one machine, and that works great. But of course it won't work with a NAS, and
Unless you
you
iSCSI mount it.
even then I couldn't manage to do it.
Oh shoot. Okay, they probably have new detection in there. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the only way I could ever get around it. Yeah.
yeah,
I understand why they're doing it. That
yeah.
totally makes sense. Now, for those of you just listening in, Matt just did a Karate Kid move here, and as far as I can tell, picked a fly out of the air with his hand, which is pretty interesting.
Well, I did. I grabbed it.
Oh, and then let
I
it go.
don't see it anymore, but there's nothing in my hand.
Oh, is it between
So
your fingers?
I don't know where it went. I don't know what happened to it. It's no longer flying around. But then again, it's dark in here, so maybe it is, and I just can't see it.
Hard to say. All right, so we covered a lot of ground.
So
So
I was going to go with I was thinking of going with some sort of cloud
yeah,
based backup solution, but I actually think for now, for at least a while, I'll do backing up to a external, just a disk,
USB.
and
Yep.
have two of them, and one is always at my mother's house because we go have dinner at her house every week. So I'll just have kind of swap out disks.
As long as she's not on that island with you, you're good to go, right?
She is on the island.
Oh no!
Well, I mean that would mean the whole
You can
island
always
has to
ship one
burn
to
up.
me. Well, I mean, there's a bridge, right? And I think the island is all powered by the same place.
Yeah.
Come on now.
I don't
Anyway,
see what
shipping it to
you're.
me is not going to help you very, very
No,
much.
then we've got tariffs and all that garbage to worry about.
Have I mentioned my tariff story? Perhaps I
No.
haven't. I ordered a used ThinkPad because I wanted a Linux laptop, and in my experience, the ThinkPads are perfect for Linux laptops. I got an older one,
Yep.
like a T480,
Yep.
T490 maybe. Everything was swimming, $300 Canadian, refurb in Amazon. Looked like it was shipped from Canada. Everything was amazing. Not
Mm-hmm.
shipped from Canada. It was 200 Canadian dollars tariffs because of the battery. It was
Oh my
awful.
God.
So I would highly recommend refurbs on Amazon are awesome. There are a bunch of
Yeah.
ThinkPads on there, super super cool. If you're in the States, actually super cheap, worth having a look. And the T400 series from IBM or Lenovo now for Linux is perfect. I'm running Pop OS, super happy. It's just another console to do cloudy stuff in a different room. But those tariffs really, really killed me.
Yeah.
I think there are ways to say like, no, I refuse to pay. I can clear my own. It'll be better. But I actually think it's the tariffs. It's not the fee.
Yeah.
You know, the $30 UPS fee they put on top. It wasn't that. It was actual tariffs coming into the country. So here we go. Yeah, I mean, it's only hit me once, but it was not.
Yeah. Yeah. I had ordered something from a U.S. company based in Colorado called Kilos Gear, and they have camp chairs and camp blow up mattresses. And
you've recommended that we all buy a $10,000 camp chair. Yes.
Well, it's a $150 camp chair. Or
I'm
something
just
like
teasing.
that.
Yeah.
and that came via China. I mean, I ordered it from the U.S.
Yeah,
and I thought I was getting a U.S. thing, and it shows I get this notice saying, "Okay, it's shipping from China." Like, oh, and it was like the day that tariffs went into
this stuff
effect.
was happening. Yeah.
But I ended up not getting, and when the package finally arrived, the label on it that says where it's being shipped from shows a U.S. address.
Ah.
So I don't know how they did that, but
smart.
Yeah.
I just put like one in one language, one in the other, I guess.
Yeah.
This is from China in Mandarin,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
this is from the US in English.
No.
All right, well, I think that's it. I don't have too much else to talk about, and I think we covered
No,
all the questions in the chat.
I think,
Thank
yeah.
you so much.
Yeah.
We did have one shout out for the C64. I'm not sure if you saw that, but
Yeah.
yes,
I did see that.
and I'm not sure if you've
Dragonfire
heard
and Demon Attack. I don't.
Oh, Demon Attack, I know. Dragonfire, we do not, but these are classic games. Yes.
64. I saw that there was. Wasn't there? Is there like a recent? I don't know if it was recent actually. Maybe I just saw a recent video. Was there another change of hands of the Commodore?
There was. I was trying not to
name?
get into it at the end of the episode, but absolutely there was. Yes, Commodore is now a company again producing computers, and we'll see what happens to it. I only know because I follow one of the YouTubers who is involved, because I do still like Amiga. He's more of a.
It's like a YouTuber that took it over, right?
Yeah. Basically bought the brand. Yeah.
I wonder how much the brand costed.
Not much.
Not much.
he didn't say. He didn't say. But like, you know how when you can see people and you're like, you know, they may be worth 100 million, maybe they're worth $1 million. This is more of the individual that is around the $1 million class. I hate to put too fun. Just to guess, maybe he's worth $1 million. So like, if you're worth $1 million, you don't spend 100% of your, you know, what you own on a company. So maybe you spend 10%. So let's say $100,000. $100,000 sounds like a lot of money for a whole company. For a whole brand. And listen, I also don't think it's $100,000. I have a feeling it was like 10K or something like that. Like not too expensive. But what they're trying to do, my understanding is license the computer that's currently being sold as a Commodore computer is like one of those things. And there's some of it, like he's talking about printing manuals and stuff like that. But yeah, it looks like Commodore is back. I don't know if you've seen newer versions of Amiga OS. I don't know if you're an Amiga fan, but like it's still going off into I want to say like early Mandriva, early Mandrake kind of awful, just god awful UI where like none of the icons that like match. It's just like, oh, it's so awful. Anyway, that's where they are. They need
so
somebody
the Commodore
doesn't care, but
Commodore 64 Ultimate.
Yeah.
It looks pretty cool. All in one. It looks like it's mostly empty volume of plastic.
Yes.
But
lots of room for expansion boards that may not exist.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it looks like it's big enough to fit a whole GPU in there.
Or a whole other computer. Or like 5 or 10 Raspberry Pis.
Yeah.
I think the C64 can run in emulation on a Raspberry Pi at 100% speed, no problem. So a lot of this is like newer stuff that they're doing. There's also new games being released for Commodore, which is interesting. Yeah, sorry. I didn't want to talk about this one because I could talk about it forever. But yes, Commodore is amazing. When I get one, I'll let you know.
Oh, do you have one on? Did you order one?
I have not, but I do really want to. I think in terms of the things that I would support, like as a nerd, as a person, you know, like Kickstarter, that kind of stuff. For me, the nostalgia around old computers that are self-contained, like the Pi 400, for example, like a keyboard computer that you plug in HDMI. I feel like this needs to be supported. So yeah, I'm definitely I bought all the mini consoles as an example as they came out. I really do feel like this computer deserves to be supported.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like it's what $299.
Yeah, not expensive.
No.
But I think it ships from the UK. Speaking of tariffs. No batteries. It's not a laptop, so it's not that bad. But yeah.
Right. It's pretty cool.
Indeed.
All right.
Okay, folks. Thanks again.
Should we end it?
Let's find that stop stream and stream button.
There we go.